he is starting the live.
Uh,
So we're beginning now. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone to the film discussion session with international filmmakers from Sylhet Agriculture University Film Society of this 4th Sylhet Film Festival 2020. I'm your host Munaim Hussain, and I'll be joined by two international filmmakers. And in this session, we'll discussion much about films. We'll interact with each other about our cultures, about our films, about our journey, and our motivations, and also we'll be asking questions to each other, and we'll also try to answer any of your question if you have any kind of inquiry. So let's not waste any time and jump into our session. First, I'd like to introduce our two guests, and they are from Russia, Miss Aliona. Hello, Aliona. How are you?
oh, fine, thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us in this festival. We are very honored to have you.
Thank you for selecting my work. It's very pleasant, really.
Thank you. Thank you. And we have another guest from Turkey, Mr. Dursun. Hello, Mr. Dursun. How are you?
Fine. I hope you are okay as well. And I'm glad
Inshallah,
to
I
be
am
here.
also okay. Thank you very much. And we are very honored to have you here with us in this session. First of all, I'd like to go to Aliona about, I would like to introduce herself in a few words and describe herself, if you can please.
Mm, Okay, I'm the work that I introduced to your festival is my first one small short film, and it was somehow non-professional, amateur. So and now this year I just entered the Russian Cinema University of Cinematography. So now I think my way of in this connection will somehow grow further. However, I like this work because I could express everything that I wanted to express. So
I get it. I have also read your profile that you have been in the line of film since your study period, and you have done so much in this short time. We'll be getting back to you. Yeah, I will. And then I'd like Mr. Darshan to introduce himself and say a few words about him.
Okay. I was born in Istanbul and currently live in it. Had a bachelor degree on history and master of cinema and television. I worked for media companies for 5 years, and now as a PhD candidate in history and study on fear history of Turkey in the second part of the 20th century through films. So that's a sum of my personal info.
Thank you very much. It is very great to hear that you have been studying in the line of film so much, and you have also, I think, you're also completing your PhD right now in history,
Yeah,
right? Regarding to films, that is very great to see that you have grown to great extent studying this film. This means so much for us.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Miss Aliona, I would like to know about your film, Fear, which has been submitted in this festival and accepted. Please tell us about your film.
uh, this about the plot. You mean the plot of the film? About what?
Yes, about the plot. About the plot.
It's the plot is rather simple. It is about this film is from the point of view of a bird in the cage. So it is some uh, non-seen by spectators, by viewers, bird, and we just see the cage, and outside the cage different views. So we understand that the bird is bought from in the pet shop, and now masters uh, bring it to her new home, and the the history the story is uh, rather impressionistic, as I can say such a word in English. I don't know.
No,
Uh,
no, it's okay, it's okay.
no.
It, it's okay. It's okay. We understand.
Yeah, and the final moment of the story is that the cage is put people the master a girl master girl of this bird put some
So basically, there was a So basically, what you're trying to say that you wanted to show about how what the fear can happen to someone who is being handled by oneself, who is handled by oneself. What the fear can be happen in the other person or in the other thing, such as you have wanted to portray as the as a pet who was encaged in a cage, and you have wanted to portray that the fear of that animal into the cage, right?
yes, yes, and I wanted to show how it is how people should be very careful with something or somebody of whom they take care by this movie.
Actually, this is very important for people who are taking care of others. And also regarding pets, I'm facing this similar kind of situation as I have adopted a cat 4 days ago. Now I am trying my heart and soul to keep up with him, but it seems like I'm far away from that. I hope I can do the same thing. And when I saw your film, I could relate myself to the very subject, and it was surreal that I felt like that I've been doing this thing unknowingly. So this is very, I think this is very touchy, and it should be remembered by everyone. So I would like to go to Mr. Darshan to now to describe his film. His film, Let the Kids Run the World.
Yeah. Well, the story is about a little kid. If you have watched it, he sees some images on TV, and it's about the drowned Syrian refugees because of the lack of life jackets. He's affected negatively for about this tragic incident. After this, he with his mom go shopping to buy some stuff, and on their way back, he buy something to help the Syrian who begs, and it's a life jacket in a simple word. And, uh, yeah, what inspired me to tell this story is that the refugee issues is happening in front of all of us on a global scale, but somehow we ignore it. And children also see some news on TV and influenced and interpret it in their own way. Uh, yani, what differs adults from children is that we are more easily convinced by political concepts such as borders, citizenship rights, and prohibitions. But I thought if we can see the work from the children's point of view, this reality could help us to understand that.
Actually, the thing you have portrayed two things: the children's perspective and the idealism which we can take from the children, but also the Syrian refugee situation. This situation is being faced by many countries in the world right now. Same as well as same as with the Syrians in the Palestine now. In our country, Bangladesh, we are also facing a sort of situation with the Rohingyas from Myanmar. But we people, we those who are in the comfortable position, we actually do not understand what they are in need of or what they actually do need, because we are not in their shoes. We are not in their shoes. We have our own thoughts. We have our own thoughts. We adults, we have our own thoughts. We have our own thinking. After waking up in the morning, we try to complete our daily schedule, but we don't think about others as very much. But in case of children, they can feel the pure positive things, and we can have sometimes take some suggestions, not suggestions, by their actions, so we can also realize the things which should be done. This was very great. The child actor was also very cute, I guess. I have seen the film, and the issue was also a very burning topic, I guess. Help the others, and also in the perspective of the children. This was very great. I enjoyed the film very much.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
I'd like to go back to Alena. You have studied in the line of film, and what was your motivation for coming to this independent filmmaking?
Motivation for what? Can you please your speech be not so fast because it's a
Okay,
problem for the sentence.
it's okay. It's okay. Can you please tell us why did you came in independent filmmaking? Why you chose it?
Independent filmmaker. Because this is this idea. Uh, I could do this idea by myself, so I wasted zero rubles for this film, and I made it by my phone. So uh, it wasn't problem to do it by myself. Only my friend helped me with this, because she helped me to bring the cage or some things. And I think there are ideas that if you can make them without help of many people, it's even better for the idea, because you are just concentrated on this, and don't waste time and for your um, forced to explain somebody how you see, because this film was rather intuitive. So I don't think that I would be able to explain how it should be done in the final um, vision. So
In your profile, you have mentioned one thing, which I was very interested to. I wanted to know it very much. You realized in your final years of your study that you wanted to devote your life in film, right?
what do you mean 5 years for what?
Uh, in your final years of studying,
Yeah,
you said that you wanted to devote your life in filmmaking,
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah,
film.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Why? Why? How did this realization come to you?
The idea, the decision to devote my life to cinema, because uh, I think it was my dream from childhood. I love to watch a lot of movies, so I thought it was a fairy tale how to make movies, how to be there on the set when you do film. And now I understand that it's very interesting, but it's a very difficult work, and but I don't change my plans for this idea because it's a thing that I love most of all to do in my life, and I want to just to go further and further and to be able to express to say everything I want because I have many things which I want to say to the people. So
Thank you very much. And it seems like that you have made your dream come true as you are working in this independent filmmaking, and you have done so much by yourself. Many things you have accomplished. That is very great to make someone's dream making into reality. So congratulations for that.
thanks a lot.
Now, now I'd like to go to Mr. Darshan. You have studied so much in filming, and in Turkey, we have seen that potential filmmakers are interested in independent filmmaking, but the situation remains difficult in everywhere in the world. So, is there any kind of difficulties you have faced when decided that you will pursue your career in filmmaking?
Well, do you ask the personal problem I had in the past about filmmaking, or the
Yes,
general
yes.
picture?
No, your personal.
Yeah, I didn't have much problems about the when I shot this movie, but the real problem is about the transportation because I didn't have so much uh, places to go, but one or two regions we had to position the cameras, the scene, etc. So that was one of the problems I faced in the past, and the child actors are really a problem in when you try to guide them about the story. But our player yani was relatively better than the others. Apart from that, if I had wanted to shot a movie with a bigger budget, the money would also have been the problem, I believe. But that wasn't the issue in this movie specifically.
That's very great to hear that you could make this movie without much kind of trouble. But I'd like to know one thing. What is the perspective of filmmaking in Turkey? How people accept someone who is making his career in filmmaking? How it is depicted to others?
Yani you are asking about the indie filmmaking in Turkey generally.
Yes, I'm asking that how people take the thing which is someone making his career in independent, such as independent filmmaking, such as yourself. You have chosen filmmaking as your career and as your study. So, how, in general, people take it? Do they think that this is good, or do they think that this is not good?
Well, actually, the answer covers the both. Yes, good or bad, because when you try to earn your livings from filmmaking, it is difficult because yes, it can make you famous in a short time if you can succeed in it. But it's also a very risky issue, especially in the filmmaking. Necessitates a lot of money, or when you want to release your film in some festivals or other platforms, it's not so easy. So if you want to choose your career on filmmaking, it's a negative issue. But when you look at the positive part of it, filmmaking open a lot of doors to you, and you can build many things within this field, and you can send your voice to a large, broader audience than other parts of the job spectrum. So this is a good part of the filmmaking. But in Turkey, I believe the mixture of this is the true answer to your question.
This is true. In our country also, filmmaking, those who are related to filmmaking, if they rose to their popularity, they're very popular. But if someone close to oneself choose filmmaking as a career, so they think that this is not very much profiting. This does not include much earning, so that is why they do not think that this is a very good choice of a profession or a career. But if they are able to rise to popularity, then they're like, wow, he's so popular, he's so wonderful. But someone here, if he choose to do filmmaking, then no, it does not do any good. Study very hard in relevant subjects and get a job, get life to safety. And this kind of issues, I think, is we are facing. Independent filmmakers are facing all over the world. That is not different in Turkey or in Bangladesh or in Russia. Always same
Yeah.
position. So I'd like to go to Alionadin's time. You have done many things: script writing, direction, and other sorts of stuff. uh, what is your experience in working all the sectors related to film?
What you mean by what is my experience in all these positions? Yeah, and
Yes, yes, yes.
The genre.
Your
uh,
experience in working all these positions. Which one did you like most?
the position of director, of course, because I think that no, I don't think that there are less important positions in cinema. They are all very interesting and very useful. And I, for 5 years or seven, I don't remember. I worked as a script supervisor on in films and serials, and I like this work too. But and they I know people who work in cinema on this position during many years, and they love it very much. But uh, I know that for me it was just a step for going further, because I wanted uh, to to get experience, to watch the work on production, film production, and this position is the most suitable for this, because it somehow you are responsible for controlling every department of the um, production. So you communicate with all members of the crew, with director, with cameraman, with props, with designers, and etc. So you are somehow uh, uh, deeply put inside this process. So, but of course, I knew that I want to direct films, and This is my favorite position in cinema.
Thank you very much. So, you like to direct films, and as you have stated, you have also written some scripts. You've also written the screenplays. So, I guess in future you will have the opportunity to direct your own films,
I
and
hope.
we will be able to, and we will be able to watch your films.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Darshan, uh, what is the present situation of independent filmmaking and Turkey?
Well,
I think uh, it is as I heard soon. I think that it is the same situation. There are many opportunities for everybody in Russia to make short films. I mean, short films, of course, by themselves. So they many my friends and people even who had never made films before, they find money through platforms, or sometimes they just try to organize the process by themselves. So it somehow, I think, depends on producer skills of the person. So if a man is able to produce himself, to find people, to communicate, and don't be shy, they will find any opportunity to do short film. However, uh, of course, there are ideas that should be organized, couldn't be organized, and without uh, financial resources. But mm, I think that the people now are clever, so they try to say something with, for example, in one location or two locations with small amount of people. So it's not difficult to say if you want to say. You may choose the form and do it anyway if you don't have financial resources.
I guess
And
with financial, yes, financial resource is very needed. Is the most needed thing in case of filming, and sometimes it is very hard to get the financial decision. In Bangladesh, the government annually announce some funding for making full-length movies. Every year, they announce some funding to make full-length movies, and four to five movies every year is produced by the government. Is it the same thing, or is there are any kind of fundings or help by government in Turkey, Mr. Darshan?
well, actually, there are various options for film makers to fund their movies. Yani we have the state and festivals or the international organizations who support some films in Turkey, and the filmmakers prefer some of them to produce their films. But the general picture is not better than yesterday, of course, but not the best or not the worst. The state or some festivals, of course, they have their own agendas, and this makes a problematic the independent filmmaking issue because they can, even if their impetus is that they don't interfere the film story, well, indirectly, they do always, and I believe that most of the countries' filmmakers have also the same problem about the story, not the narration, but the narrative is influenced about this situation. Uh, but yani, I believe the real problem happens there. Also, the releasing the films is another problem for filmmakers, and the independent filmmakers mostly prefer festivals, and this brings about another situation in Turkey, and they produce films for festivals. Not they believe that the film deserves to be made in a certain way. You can get what I mean?
Yes, yes,
And
yes, yes. I get it.
and the real reason is, I believe, that we don't have a settled industry in Turkey, like Hollywood or Bollywood or Nollywood. You can say it has became that the filmmakers make their films not for art but for the uh, current powerful organizations, including the state or the festivals or the European funding organizations.
So the thing you are saying that in general, Turkey there is no stable industries, and mostly filmmakers make their films for people outside Turkey or some powerful organization or industries. Those are not in Turkey, right?
Well, actually, I meant that there is not a settled industry, but that doesn't mean that the audience is the foreign audience. They aim the Turkey's audience, but the festival structure is not designed for the independence, independent filmmaking, I believe.
Uh,
Yani our
uh,
series, Turkish series, you may heard about them, are more famous than the independent films. Yani,
uh, I understand that. This is also similar in other kind of places. In some European countries, independent filmmakers are also welcome, like other commercial filmmakers. But mostly, independent filmmakers face difficulties in managing their audience. We have a comment from Dipankar.
thank you.
Some problem.
He's frozen, I believe.
So, as I understand, full-length films in Turkey can't distributed. You mean this?
Well, actually, it happens like almost all.
Hello, can you
Like,
hear me?
yeah, yeah, we can hear you, but 1 minute
Hello, can you?
ago,
The the line got disconnected because my electricity. I have faced the issue of load shedding, and that is why my I got disconnected from my broadband, and I am using my mobile data right now to continue the session. For sorry for the inconvenience. And now, okay. So you had a comment saying that you have a very lovely background,
yes,
and I was also meaning to say that there are so many books in your background, and I also love to read books very much. It is very great to see a lot of books in a place. It's very great. So I would like to go to Alyona now. What I said to Mr. Darshan, I'm asking the same thing. In Russia, is there any kind of funding
He's gonna
Indeed.
get it. But he was about to ask the same question
Okay.
about. You can, if you want to answer, you don't
Um,
have to.
to you for his question.
Except him, no ideas.
Oh, I didn't know.
The electricity came back. The electricity just came back. I just got connected with my broadband again, and that
Yeah,
is why it take a fraction of seconds. I'm very sorry that.
no, no problem.
I'm going back to Aliona again. Is there are any kind of funding from governments or non-government organization for filmmaking in Russia?
Yes, of course, there are government. Okay, there is government funding from the Minister of Culture, or Ministerstvo of Culture. I don't know how to say it in English. So there are. I don't remember the amount of films. I mean, now full length films. Yeah, you mean full length films?
Hmm. Full length
Yeah.
independent, full length independent filmmakers, everything counts.
Yes, there are government funds and which are given every year for, as I remember, maybe 30 or 50 full-length films. However, I think the problem is that um, this funding is not doesn't exist for the so-called authors films or indie films because the films which are get the funding are somehow they should be distributed, so they should be some entertaining or maybe blockbusters or something else. So and I think that this segment is rather popular in Russia, but there are many people who want to do another cinema. So they want to do authors films with, I mean, uh, not fast. Not fast tempo of telling the story with not famous actors and something like this. But uh, the conditions are so that such that uh, people who get funding they should fulfill these demands. For example, to take only such actors for their film or to bring such kinds of scripts which be popular, which be good sold, and etc. So many friends of mine who are very talented cinematographers even don't try to get these funds because they don't want to do such movies.
Mm.
So, what you're trying to say, there are funds, but many people don't try to get them because there are too much condition for the grant. So they usually don't look for it, and that is why only a specific genre of movies are always funded by government, not a variety kind of films. So it is like the same old way continuing from time to time.
I
I
think
get.
it's always the such situation always exists. So there should be some concrete idea of the film or some yeah or some genre of film. So yeah, it's very difficult to say what you want without restrictions somehow.
That
Yeah,
is
you
very
may
true.
say, but you will find money by yourself. The situations is
So after everything, in the end of the day, we will have to watch out our pocket so that we can take the money and fund our own project. That is the main thing that we'll have to watch out, I guess. So,
Mm.
Mr. Dursun, I'd like to know about your personal interest outside of Turkish film. What kind of film industries do you like outside of Turkey films?
Well, actually, it differs from the mood I have in that moment. But mainly, since I have also focused on and studied on fear, the emotions, history, I prefer to watch horror movies, but also dramas. Horror genre for me is a kind of working place, but the dramas or maybe comedies could could be the genres for me for entertainment. Uh, yani, but also the artistic movies like Krzysztof Kieślowski's movies are the ones I like watch. I like to watch most, or Kubrick's movies. That kind of um, yani, ne derler, uh, yeah, artistic parts of those movies also inspired me to make also uh, pa- yeah, stories or the narration styles, but also for the entertainment reasons.
So you have a taste for mixed genre of movie, and mostly you are able to enjoy and get the entertainment from all of them. That is very good because by this you will be able to enjoy all sorts of movies. You will be able to know about all of them, and you can also take ideas from them, get inspired from them, and you can put those ideas into your own project. That is very fantastic. What about Leona? What is your preferred genre of movie or industry?
Genre of movies. I think that I love all genres. So, and what I would like to do. I also like, of course, Krzysztof Kieślowski very much, and many somehow the so-called art house directors, and I think I would like to make films in such category. And my favorite genre is also tragic comedy, because I think this genre is the closest to life, because life is uh, is sad and very funny at the same time. So I like reality, and I want to transform it into how to say it in English, into some poetic view, poetic language. So, but it shouldn't be for me. I wouldn't like to do it very serious or very tragic. So I think it should be uh, light and not pleasant, but should make people think, but not to bring your mind to viewers' head. So
Thank you very much. This has been a wonderful session with all of you, and I'm also very grateful to have the opportunity to talk with you guys, share many things, and having been unable to know about your opinions, your comments on many different things. This is really helpful in a case of an international film festival because we can interact with you, international filmmakers, and we can also know about the situation, the condition of your countries, and I have also shared about things about my countries. This is very great, and we strive for these kind of things while we plan for these kind of situations. We are in near the ending of our session, and we'll be ending this session shortly. But before that, I'd like each of you to say something about your festival, and after that, we will end our session. At first, Miss Aliona.
Okay, thanks a lot for your festival because it's really this film traveled around the world. Many festivals selected it, but such kind of conversation is for the first time, and it's very pleasant to communicate with people who watch your work. To see people who watch your work and to somehow to get the feedback of your work because I think it's the most important part of making movies when viewers audience gives back their reaction. So it's a very great opportunity for with your festival to get this, and it's very pleasant for me. Thank you very much, and I wish your festival be to be success for many years. And I hope that one year it will be in live the ceremony and the communication with directors who will somehow be in life, real life.
I also hope that. Mr. Darson.
Firstly, I also want to thank you for this great method to providing, especially to short film filmmakers, because most of the festivals don't prefer to ask the directors or the producers about their journey, filmmaking journey, but you are doing it. So this is a big plus for you, and I believe most of the participants feel in that way, are very thankful. And in the future, I believe you will you will get bigger and successful about this issue with the experience you had in these days. And that's all. All of my blessings for you.
Thank you very much. We are still a small tree trying to grow into a large one, and with your help, with your support, I hope that we will turn into a big tree, and under that, we will be able to gather all the filmmakers in the whole world, and we will be also able to connect with you. And I also want to congratulate you too because there were a lot of submission, there were a lot of films, but still yours managed to get into the list. And you are amazing filmmakers. You're doing wonderful job, and please keep up with whatever you are doing right now, because in the future you will also be able to achieve success, and inshallah, and that time we will be able to interact with each other again. And hopefully, if everything is okay and this current pandemic situation is over, we'll again begin our as usual festival from the next year, and hopefully we will be able to meet with each other physically in coming years. And till that, please stay safe, please stay healthy, please study film and make lots of film, and we will watch together all of our works. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming into our session. Thank you very much for interacting with us. And please stay tuned for more discussions and more screenings for the rest of the week until the end of our festival. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thanks you a lot.
That's it.
Bye.